next I'll call upon Councilmember Lauren Simpson.
Thank you, Mayor. I am presenting tonight a recognition of the 150th anniversary of the Arvada United Methodist Church. In brief, on Sunday, September 20th, 2020, the Arvada United Methodist Church, located at 6750 Carr Street, will be officially celebrating its 150th anniversary of ministry and mission in Arvada and beyond. As early as 1859, Methodist circuit riders, men riding on horseback to evangelize the new frontier, would visit gold miners working in Ralston Creek. In 1863, the first Methodist Episcopal Sunday School was held, and the first Methodist religious services were held in the new log home of Oliver Graves, whose descendants continue in the church today. In 1870, the church was officially founded with 30 members, including Benjamin Wadsworth and his family. In 1876, Wadsworth donated the building site for the church building at the corner of Webster and 57th Streets, where the foundation was eventually laid in 1889. Keeping up with the growing community, commerce, and development of Arvada in the 1920s, the church changed its name to Arvada Community Church, Methodist Episcopal, and committed to build a new building to serve as a center of social, recreational, and religious life, which was completed in 1923 and dedicated in 1931. Incorporated as a town in 1904, Arvada officially became a city in 1951, at which time the church had 629 members and added an additional educational wing. Under the leadership of Reverend Earl Hanna, pastor of Arvada Methodist Church for more than 30 years, the church has purchased a 5.5-acre site at 68th and Carr Streets at a cost of $5,000 per acre. Church membership topped 1,100 and moved into a new church building on May 19, 1963, where the church continues to gather and worship to this day. On Sunday, September 20th, 2020, there will be an outdoor parking lot worship service and celebration at 10 a.m., which will be led by the United Methodist Bishop of Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, and Utah, Bishop Karen Oliveto. All are welcomed and encouraged to attend at this time of celebration, which will begin a year of festivities, memories, and planning for the next 150 years of vital ministry in this community. And if I may add, they also operate a preschool that my little girl attends. She has for 2 years now. They are wonderful, caring, kind individuals, and I cannot thank you enough for what you do for my own family. So thank you. Receiving the certificate of recognition on behalf of the congregation tonight are Reverend Amy Gearhart, lead pastor of the church, and Camille Parker, lay leader.
Come on down to the podium if you would.
As a lifelong member of Arvada United Methodist Church, I started when I was 6. I have my 3rd grade Bible signed by Reverend Hanna. And all I would like to say is that the city of Arvada and the community that we live in is special. And I encourage anybody who wants to be encouraged, emboldened, and loved by their community to stop by our church sometime. We're also online, so you can find us at arvadaumc.org.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are so fortunate to have the Methodist Church as part of our community for so long, and all of our faith-based community. They fit a very important need, and we rely upon what you do so much. So thank you. And congratulations.
Memories of AUMC, 1941 to 1963. It was 1941. I was 6 years old and we had just moved to Arvada and started attending the Methodist Episcopal Church, as the cornerstone indicated, located at the corner of Webster and Grant. The sanctuary had beautiful stained glass windows, and it was contemplated moving them to the new building later, but was considered virtually impossible. It had carpeted aisles and carved arms on the pews. The organ and the choir loft were directly behind the pulpit on each side of the chancel. There was a big gymnasium, dining room, kitchen and with uneven cement floors, a parlor which became the nursery preschool room in later years, a bell tower where the bell was rung every Sunday to signify it was time for church. It was rather interesting to see which bell would ring first, the Methodist or the Catholic, which was only a block away. The Presbyterian and Baptist churches were always also only a block or two in distance, but I don't recall their bell ringing. By 1941, the gym was used for church school classes with a group of chairs in each corner, plus a class on the stage, and a class at each side room off of the stage. The stage was used for the children's choir spring musicals and for community flower shows every year at the Harvest Festival time, and also for women's bazaars to raise money. The outside entrance to the sanctuary had 25 to 30 steps. It was about 10 to 12 feet wide with only rails on each side. The width was necessary for room to take a casket with pallbearers in and out of the sanctuary because there was no other entrance. At that time, the Albers Funeral Home was right next door to the church. I still don't know how elderly parishioners ever made it up and down those outside stairs. There was another entrance to the gymnasium to the south of the main entrance as well. It had only a few steps and was much smaller in general. By the time I was in high school, 1949 to 1952, the balcony of this gym had been partitioned off to house the nursery, and then the nursery preschool room had become a regular classroom. The high school class met in the bell tower, which made us feel like we were really up in the world. And several of us were teaching elementary classes because no adults were filling the need. Religious classes had much to be desired, had nothing more for resources than the David C. Cook material. The senior high fellowship group met every Sunday evening in the dining room and prepared our own devotions and programs, as again there were no adult leaders and no help from the minister. We worked hard at making our programs worthwhile. Would sometimes have roller skating and ice skating outings or summer picnics in Cold Creek Canyon. We had a group of about 12 to 14. As the town grew, it seemed necessary to have an education unit, so in 1953-54, they embarked on an addition to the northwest side of the building, basically facing Grant Street. It was a great improvement for the church school, both adults and children. The new addition had a second floor, which had the church office, never had one before, a large conference room, a kitchenette, and a dining hall. Also, the adult church school class led Sunday mornings there. In August of 1955, Earl K. Hanna was appointed as the new minister, and the church began to steadily grow. After hearing Earl's first sermon on process theology, the church was to turn to a new page. Earl's ability as an administrator, theologian, and counselor had people wanting to be part of such a meaningful and engaged community of faith. Nothing of this type of leadership had ever been experienced in the city. In about 1957-58, the trustees determined it was time to form a study planning committee for building a new church, as 3 services were now scheduled and church school was growing. The acreage off 68th and Carr was purchased, way out in the country on a barren hill overlooking downtown Denver. It was a thrill for the congregation to see the progress of clearing the land and the building taking shape. A very few felt no one would ever come that far out in the country, but of course, that was proved wrong. The first service at 68th and Carr was observed in May of 1963. Attendance continued to grow and before too long went to 2 services and then to 3. The church staff increased in numbers to carry out the needs occurring in all areas. The membership grew to about 1,800 in the ensuing years. May AUMC continue for another 150 years. Signed, Rhonda Jansen Moore Hanna.